Well, it's hard for me to believe in things that don't have utility, and it's not just against Bitcoin. It's against gold as well. Gold.
Sorry,
gold
hold on. Utility. What do you mean utility? Like,
it doesn't do anything. Bitcoin doesn't do anything, just as gold doesn't do anything, right?
Wait. So you're saying the ability to have control over your money as a sovereign thing, the ability for third world countries to compete on a global economic relevance, the ability to send money that's immutable, that's not a utility at all.
There's likely way better cryptos than Bitcoin to use for those things, is there not?
Technologically, yes, 100%. Now, if that mattered, Bitcoin would have not been in the top 10 years ago. We have had better technologies. The way crypto moves is not based on what technology is the best. It's based on brand recognition, and Bitcoin has things going for it that can never be replicated ever again, which the market values extremely high. The fact that we don't know who the creator is. Believe it or not, that's a huge part of the fact that Bitcoin is faceless. We can't really point to one individual and say, this guy's scammy or whatever it is. There's no such thing. So Bitcoin has a lot of things going for it that can't be replicated.
Oh, I fully understand that. It doesn't mean I have to agree with it, right? You know what I mean?
Well, which part do you disagree with?
Well, what I just don't agree with is that it should be valued the way it's valued, or anything even close to that. Same thing goes for gold. Like I said, pitching Bitcoin and pitching gold can be somewhat similar, right? The use cases can be a little different. Gold, say, the thing was, it's made for jewelry. It's been around for thousands of years. We've always had value. Bitcoin, it's like, it's another store of value. But at the end of the day, gold and Bitcoin are basically used as stores of value. Everything else is very secondary.
Which one do you think is better, gold or Bitcoin?
I mean, if I had to buy one, I guess I would probably buy Bitcoin, maybe.
Okay.
But
what market cap gold is?
Yeah, about 10 trillion, I would assume.
Right. So do you think by that logic that if technology is the only thing objectively matters, that Bitcoin would eventually replace the market cap of gold?
I don't think gold should be valued at 10 trillion. That's my issue.
It is. But the market isn't your opinion, right? It just is.
Yeah, and that's why I don't participate in those markets. I like things that actually produce stuff. I like companies that actually do something in the world, right? I like maybe real estate as a backup, because at least people need somewhere to live. Like humans need somewhere to live. So you can.
Jeremy, here's the thing. I'm worried that sort of thinking might end up holding you back. I was very much the same way, and I have to say, just watching how things have developed over the last 4 years with cryptocurrency and NFTs, and even though I do agree that some of these are very hypey and very bubbly, they are now a part of our society, and you can't value them anymore the way that you would a company.
They're not a part of our society. They're not a part of our society. They're a part of the investment community, but Bitcoin is not relevant, and Ethereum is not relevant in the real world.
I think it is the fact that corporations are putting a lot of money into it. The fact that Tesla put a portion of their reserves.
It's not relevant, though.
Jeremy, what you're seeing in the first world here in the U.S. as far as the utility of Bitcoin and Ethereum is nowhere near the amount of utility that it's getting around the world, where it actually matters, where the utility is much better served for people that are, surrounded by debased fiat currencies. You don't see that because you don't live in those, countries, but around the world, it's an insane amount of utility that's going on, that people are using it. I guess you're not seeing it because you're not using it that way, which I understand. But I mean, I guess you could argue the same way that the stock market is kind of part of the investment class. I mean, we don't do anything with stocks. What do you do with it? You wipe your butt with it? You don't do anything with it. You're just on your phone. It's just a figment. It's a digital representation of a company that, yes, produces goods, but otherwise it's just a thing.
The fact is, you wipe out every single crypto in the world out tomorrow. Let's say they're all gone. No one blinks an eye other than people that have money in it. Fact. You wipe Facebook off the face of the earth tomorrow, everybody's going to be like, what the heck am I going to do? You wipe YouTube off the face of the earth, you wipe Google off the face of the earth tomorrow, you wipe Apple off the face of the earth tomorrow, everybody's going to be like, what the flip am I doing? You know what I mean?
I do, but I don't understand the logic. I'm not following what that means.
Yeah, it's not the best comparison.
One matters and one doesn't.
Because you could say that by getting rid of like Facebook, let's say, that's separate from owning stock in Facebook. It would be like saying, you get rid of Bitcoin or the internet. If you get rid of the internet, then everyone freaks out the same way that would apply to Bitcoin too.
Right.
It's the stock ownership. If Facebook, like Jeremy, for example, if Facebook went private tomorrow and no stocks were available, no one could invest in Facebook, I don't think anyone would really blink an eye.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the same thing would apply with any company that goes private.
Yeah, but the utility, Graham, that's what you're missing. When you own shares in a stock, it represents the underlying company. And the fact is, at least in the United States, like if you wipe Bitcoin, Ethereum, like no one's affected by that. If Apple just disappears tomorrow, 50% of Americans are affected by that.
Wait. Okay, Jeremy. So let's follow that logic. Therefore, what? Okay, so Facebook.
Therefore,
people freak out. Therefore, what?
Therefore, Apple has tremendous value, real value to us as humans. Bitcoin serves almost no value to humans right now. Doesn't mean it can't. Maybe in 10 years, we're all using Bitcoin to transact.
I said thank you. I just needed a soundbite for my video. That's all I was just saying.
But here's the thing, Jeremy.
It's facts, though. You can't debate it.
But here's the thing. I bet you could say the same thing of someone in the 80s, let's say, who grew up with real value investing, looking at tech companies. Like you gave the example of Facebook. There are so many people that could maybe look at Facebook and say, there's no way it should be valuable. There's no way Google should. Same with tech companies. So that could be from tech to crypto is what value is to tech.
So Graham, I don't think the 80s is the best time period to look for. You could talk about the tech bubble, right? When that was a time period when folks that were super into tech stocks, right, that didn't have a lot of real world utility at that time were saying, dude, this is the future. You got to get in. You got to get in. Prices went crazy. Valuations went crazy without these things having much real world impact, right? Most of those companies ended up disappearing and no one blinked an eye. Like, I don't care, right?
Jeremy,
and we could be going through one of those periods in crypto right now and just no one realizes it. But when you're making money, you have everything on your side, right? It's like, dude, look it's pumping. We're moving up again. Get on the train or don't. So we just don't know if we're going through one of those.
Aren't you taking somewhat of an arbitrary metric like production and judging a different asset class based on a metric that one asset class is better at? Like, for example, real estate. What production does real estate produce? It doesn't produce anything. So how could you look at a different asset class that's more like a commodity and say, well, it doesn't produce anything, therefore it's like biting an apple and being like, well, this doesn't taste like a banana, it sucks, it has no utility. It doesn't make sense.
Homes are highly relevant. We're all in our homes recording these videos right now. If our home burns down tomorrow, we're in trouble, right? All of a sudden we're like, shoot, we need somewhere else to live, so we need to buy another home. It's extremely relevant. And if all the homes just disappear in the United States of America, that would be a massive deal, right? We'd all be like, the whole United States would stop overnight, right? So that's where we're talking about what's actually relevant in the real world. What should things be valued at? The fact is, Ethereum could be the biggest thing to hit planet Earth, but right now it's not. That's just factual. You can't say Ethereum has some great impact on us all, because if Ethereum went away tomorrow, no one's impacted other than maybe a few people that work on the Ethereum project and people that are invested in it.
But don't you think the stock market works the same way, that we look at future earnings of a company and we don't look at Tesla for what it's worth now and we look at what it could be worth in the future? You could make the same argument in that case. It's Tesla is responsible for production of anything and everything in the world, but it could be in the future. Therefore, I'm willing to pay $800 per share for it. You could make the same case against or for Bitcoin.
Absolutely. But here's the difference, right? With Tesla, I can run you out numbers that will justify its valuation, right? And what I've consistently had trouble with getting out of people is them running numbers to justify the valuation of Bitcoin. Like, why is Bitcoin worth $1 trillion+? Why should it be worth $10 trillion in 5 years or 10 years from now, right? I have a lot of trouble getting those sorts of numbers. There's a lot of people that can run Tesla projections and tell you why Tesla should be valued at $800 billion today and why it deserves to be valued at $1.6 trillion in this year and things like that. So that's another issue we have from that standpoint.
Well, I think I could prove to you how Bitcoin could be worth someday a $10 trillion market, but I think what you would disagree on is the valuation. You'd be like, well, I just don't think it's worth that much. Which I would probably disagree and say, well, the market doesn't care what you think it might be worth. there are catalysts for it to get there. So you might
Yeah.
like I might disagree that some dude's house is worth $1 million. I might look at it and say, well, that's a stupid house. I think it's worth half that, right? Just because I disagree with the valuation doesn't mean I speak for the market. And I could,
100.
right.
Yeah. No, 100%, Andre, you're correct. And that goes for any asset, any stock, like you said, real estate, property, crypto, anything.
Right.
But yeah, it's all in the eyes of the beholder, right? And yeah, we just don't know what period we're going through in crypto right now. Maybe we're in a, like you said, maybe crypto's about to go on a super cycle, and next thing you know, Bitcoin's going to be a 5 trillion, 10 trillion, Ethereum's going to be a multi-trillion. Or maybe we're in the tech bubble days right now. We just don't realize.
Fair. That's fair. So I will ask you this then. What will convince you of Bitcoin's relevancy? Like, what does it take for Jeremy to be convinced?
Yeah, I've got to see, I've got to see it in the real world in a major way, right? I've got to see people around me using cryptocurrencies. I've got to see, for whatever it is, I've got to see myself being like, oh, I need to use this, right? I've got to see it out there, right, in the real world for me to say, okay, this is like real in a major way. But then it comes down to also getting back to valuation, right?
So sorry, when you say use it, like I use my credit card from BlockFi all the time to pay for everything because I get like 1.5% Bitcoin rewards. I use it all the time. So can you specify or clarify what you mean by like you?
Crypto.com Visa card, a metal card, powered by crypto.
Use it? Because I use it all the time. I don't spend it, but I collect it and I earn it and I'm holding it. But
yeah, you're holding it, right? I think what Ethereum did over the past year, I think as far as like NFTs building on Ethereum, I think that's a good building block, right? I think that's a good start. But I've got to see a lot more from Ethereum over time. And if then we go off the rails and talk about other crypto projects, yeah, I mean, just Ethereum is probably the best real world case I can think of in terms of something that people are actually into right now when it comes to like those NFTs and whatnot. So,
Andre, what Jeremy's really saying is he wants to see their earnings report. He wants to see future projections, whether or not they pay a dividend. It's a lot of things. The price to earnings ratio. Until Bitcoin has a price to earnings ratio, staying away from it.
I want a forward PE. Kevin, you're awfully quiet. I want to hear from you, Kevin.
Well, I mean, I was listening. I think what it is there are different types of demand. Real estate, for example, is a necessity, and crypto's not a necessity, but you kind of have this like imputed demand, and it's kind of an imputed demand of will. Like people want it. People want to put their money into what they believe is untouchable by the government, even though we're going to get regulated the crap out of, right? Which to some degree we should. That's what people want. So people are creating their own market. I mean, to some degree, an iPhone is not a necessity and YouTube is not a necessity, but house is, right? But I think the part I really wanted to hit on was, so it's a different type of demand that generates interest for it. But earlier you mentioned like, what would happen? Would anybody blink an eye if crypto disappeared? Jeremy, you mentioned that, I don't know, 5-10 minutes ago. A lot of bad things would happen because think about it, like Visa, MasterCard, Square, they all lose billions of dollars. Their shareholders lose billions of dollars. DeFi, interest, and all the investments people have put in DeFi, gone. Artwork, billions of dollars valued artwork, gone. Artists who go all into crypto, bankrupt. I mean, you're talking massive defaults, market caps of thousands of companies getting extinguished, right? Like people investing to get their savings, and they have these stable coins, and all that stuff just disappears. The government of Ecuador goes bankrupt because all their assets went to zero. SoFi, BlockFi credit cards, Robinhood, you name it. So like a lot of bad things would happen if crypto just disappeared. And sure, like it's one of those like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like what came first, like Tesla producing a car and then its stock went up? Okay, yeah. In this case, it feels backwards, right? Kind of like people wanted it, and the more people wanted it, the more the price went up. And so I see your issue of like justifying the valuation, but really what it is, it has the value because people are paying it. It's quite frankly the most free market that really exists. There are no barriers. It literally is, who wants to pay me for it, right? There are no earnings. That actually almost makes it like a potentially even a more pure value in a weird way. You know, you or I running numbers on Tesla, not that we're giving financial advice because we're not, but it's really just a tool for convincing people that, you know, why we believe in a particular company. But all you need is somebody actually making that purchase and hodling those shares, and that creates market value. It's nothing more than that. Like when a company, this is what frustrates me so much, some dumb company that I think is totally worthless, you know, raises $5 million at a $1 billion market cap. It's like all they got was $5 million, but they're valued at $1 billion, right? Because somebody who's willing to pay that percentage of the company, $5 million for that percentage of the company. And so, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on, financial wizardry and stuff. But I don't know, maybe you're just looking at it the wrong way. But quite frankly, listening to the conversation, I've kind of just concluded, make your portfolio allocation. You know, Andre might be comfortable with 30% or more. I don't know I forgot what yours is, Andre. Jeremy, you know, leave yours at 0. And then whenever you have an allocation, let me know, because then I'll sell, because that's probably when grandma and grandpa are in. And that's my barometer to sell.
That's great.
No, dude, I was thinking about that the other day, because I was like, man, it's so easy to make money in crypto. It's just everything flies high. It's just like buy. And I was thinking about that the other day, and then I was like, oh man, we're probably in a bubble, because I'm thinking about just loading up on cryptos left and right. So be a little scared. But yeah, when I actually do it, that's when we're at the top for sure. But no, I'd rather be in the picks and shovels business personally.
Jeremy,
You know?
is it okay if I